Form 15G and Form 15H to save TDS on interest on fixed deposit and recurring deposit. Form 15G and Form 15H are self-declaration forms required to be furnished by the assessor to his banker for nil deduction / lower deduction of TDS on interest on fixed deposit / recurring deposit. As per Section 194 of the Income Tax Act, 1961, all banks and financial institutions have been mandatorily instructed to deduct TDS on all interest payments exceeding Rs 10,000 in any financial year. Thus, whenever any customer receives more than Rs 1,000 as interest from a bank, the bank will have to deduct tax on such income arising in the hands of the customer and will directly pay this tax to the GOFT. On the behalf of the customer, the banker will issue a TDS certificate in Form 16 for the TDS so deducted mentioning the details of TDS payment with the GOFT. While filing your income tax return, the assessor shall furnish the details mentioned in his Form 16 which should be in accordance with the TDS reflected in Income Tax Form 26 as credit of TDS so deducted would be allowed to the taxpayer and adjusted against his total tax liability for the year. While framing this section, a case arose wherein the interest received on fixed deposits / recurring deposit was more than Rs 10,000 and therefore TDS on interest had to be deducted, but that person was not liable to pay income tax as his income did not fall in the taxable limits as per the income tax slabs. In such cases, wherein the tax liability of the assessor is nil and TDS on interest is liable to be deducted as his interest income is more than Rs 1,000, the assessor can furnish Form 15G / Form 15H for nil / lower deduction of TDS as per RBI guideline dated May 31, 2013. At the time of submission of Form 15G / 15H, the banker will also issue an acknowledgement to the assessor stating the receipt of the form. Budget 2015 update. Earlier the limit of Rs 10,000 for TDS deduction was separate for each bank branch. However, as now all bank branch entities are computerized, this limit of Rs 10,000 is now not separate for all bank branches but consolidated for all branches. In other words, this limit of Rs 10,000 is now not per bank branch but per bank. Form 15G. Form 15G can be submitted by non-senior citizens, i.e. individuals who are less than 60 years of age and who satisfy both the criteria mentioned below. 1. The final tax on his estimated total income computed as per the provisions of the Income Tax Act should be nil. 2. The aggregate of the interest and other incomes received during the financial year should not exceed the basic exemption limit as per the prevalent income tax slabs. The above conditions can be explained with the help of the below-mentioned examples. Form 15H. Form 15H can be submitted by senior citizens only, i.e. those who are above 60 years of age and satisfy the following criteria. The final tax on his estimated total income computed as per the provisions of the Income Tax Act should be nil. The above condition can be explained with the help of an example. Submit Form 15G and Form 15H online. The Ministry of Finance via notification number 76/20/15 / F number 133/50/20/15 TPL dated September 29, 2015 has amended the income tax rules for the submission of Form 15G and Form 15H. These rules have been referred to as the Income Tax 14th Amendment Rules 2015 and are applicable from October 1, 2015. Rule 29 degrees Celsius is applicable for submission of Form 15G and Form 15H. An amendment has also been brought in this rule which says that an declaration for nil/lower deduction of TDS on fixed deposit / recurring deposit may be furnished in any of the following modes. 1. Paper form. 2. Electronically after duly verifying through an electronic process in accordance with the procedures, formats and specified standards. As the rule now permits the submission of Form 15G and Form 15H electronically, taxpayers can now submit the forms online as well. As the government has now granted the permission to submit Form 15G and Form 15H online, the whole process is expected to get simpler and hassle-free. Difference between Form 15G and Form 15H. Although both these forms are for nil/lower deduction of TDS on interest and require that the final tax liability on the estimated income shall be nil, there are some differences in these forms with respect to their use. 1. Form 15H is required to be furnished by senior citizens who are above the age of 60 years, whereas Form 15G is required to be furnished by individuals other than senior citizens. 2. Form 15H cannot be furnished by HUF, whereas HUFs can furnish Form 15G. 3. Form 15H can be furnished even if the aggregate total income is more than the basic exemption limit as per the income tax slabs, but Form 15G can only be furnished if the aggregate income is less than the basic exemption limit. Form 15G and Form 15H are available at all bank branches and you can request your banker for this form at the counter. Alternatively, you can submit these forms online as well. While submitting these forms, the assessor would also be required to disclose the details of investments like shares, debentures, fixed deposits, mutual funds and other investments held in the name of the assessor. Please note, Form 15G and Form 15H both have a validity of 1 financial year only. These forms are only valid for the financial year in which you have furnished these forms, and in case you want to apply for nil/lower deduction of TDS on interest on fixed deposit in another financial year, you will have to refurnish these forms again to your banker. In case you have not furnished Form 15G/Form 15H, and the banker has deducted TDS on interest, there is no need to worry, as you can always claim TDS refund for the TDS deducted in excess of your income tax liability. The assessor shall furnish the details of the TDS deducted as mentioned in Form 16 to the Income Tax Department while filing the income tax return, and the TDS deducted in excess of the tax payable shall be refunded to the assessor with interest. Thank you. Please like and share.